ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। So you have seen the topic today. It is discussion on the first two verses of the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which discriminates between the Kshetra and Kshetragya, that is, between the field and the knower of the field, or matter and spirit, or nature and soul, or Prakriti and Purusha. So these all are same. I am just telling all of them so that you should not be confused. Matter and soul is the same as Prakriti and Purusha, or nature and soul. All these terms are used. So whenever you hear them, you should know that they denote the same reality. So the body and its knower is called Kshetra, the body, and Kshetragya, the knower of the body. This discrimination is done in the 13th chapter. So we will just discuss the first two verses because I want to give you a taste of a little Vedantic reasoning, how Vedanta, in the Vedanta, how we reason and how we discriminate, because Vedanta is all about discrimination, Viveka. So here you'll get a taste of that, and unfortunately it is not going to be so easy. You will get a minor headache maybe, but don't worry, that headache will go slowly. When you hear the same thing again and again, then slowly that it acts as a Tylenol. So slowly you'll be getting okay, no problem. So before starting, we just discussed the background. You see, before this chapter, in the 7th chapter of the Gita, Shri Krishna has described the two Prakritis of the Lord. Two Prakritis. When we discuss the Sankhya philosophy, the nature of Prakriti we will discuss in detail. But now it is enough to learn that Prakriti means nature or matter, that which is other than the Atman or the soul. That is Prakriti. So in the 7th chapter, it is described the inferior Prakriti and the superior Prakriti. So inferior Prakriti is three gunas, that is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, which we have discussed many times and we will keep on discussing. And the superior Prakriti is the Jiva. Jiva means us, individual soul. You, I, everybody else, all the living beings are Jivas, individual souls, who are identifying themselves with the body. We all are identifying ourselves with our bodies, and we are subject to transmigration. We have been born, we will be born again till we attain supreme knowledge. So we are the Jivas. So Jivas are superior Prakriti, and the Sattva, Rajas or Tamas or matter, which consists of three gunas, is the inferior Prakriti. So the 13th chapter, the chapter which we will discuss now, the first two verses, this proposes to describe the two Prakritis are the Kshetra and the Kshetragya, the field and the knower of the field, in order to determine finally the nature of the Supreme Lord. That is the thing. So we will be discussing the field and the knower of the field. Why? Not to determine their nature, but by discriminating between them, determining the nature of the ultimate reality. That is our aim. This we should know. And this Vedanta does through discrimination. That is Viveka. How does it discriminate? It says that all material bodies, sense organs, and sense objects are made of Prakriti, that is nature or matter. And the soul is opposite to this. It is consciousness itself. That is how the discrimination is done. So we will go into details now. So I will just share the shlokas with you. I've also written them down in English. So those who don't know that can chant with me. The two shlokas you can see. So I will just chant both of them, and the English is also given below, so you can see. The first verse is Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram ityabhidhiyate etadyo vettitam prahu kshetragya iti tadvidah. Then the second verse Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetraghyayor jnanam yattaj jnanam matam mama. So these are the two verses which we will discuss. Today, I think only first verse will be possible. So I'll keep this photo so that you can understand when I explain the meaning of the words one by one. You can see before you. So the translation of the first verse is Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate. This is the Sandhi breakup. So, O son of Kunti, that is Kaunteya, Idam. Idam means this body. Idam shariram, this body. Kshetram iti abhidhiyate is referred to as the field. This body, our body, is referred to as the kshetra or field. Why it is called field, we will see later. Etad yo veti tam. So, though one who knows it, etad yo veti tam, that is him, prahu kshetragya iti tad vidah. So, those who are well versed in this knowledge call him who knows this body as kshetragya or the knower of the field. So this verse means this body of ours is the kshetra or field, and one who knows it is referred to as kshetragya or the knower of the field. This is the verse which we will discuss. Now, body, idam shariram, this body, the details of this body are given in the 5th and 6th verses, so that we will leave for later. And he who knows it, he who knows this body, knows it means he who knows it different from the self. He who knows that the body is different from the self is called the knower of the field. Okay. And why is the body called the field? It is a strange name. What similarity does our body have with the field? So why is the body called the field? Because you see what happens, what is the similarity? In the field, we sow seeds and there is a crop. So if whatever seed we sow, the crop will be the same. If we sow wheat, we will get wheat. If we sow cactus plants, we will get cactus. So similarly, in our body, the body is the field where we sow our karma. All the karmas which we do, actually we are sowing in the body. Body means not only gross body, it also includes the mind. So whatever type of karma we sow, the same crop we will get. If we sow mangoes or good karma, we will get delicious mangoes. But if we sow some thorns, we will get a thorny bush, which will hurt us later. That is why the body is called kshetra or field. There are other reasons also, which we will go into detail. We will take up one by one. So this is quite, I'm telling you, discussion will be quite difficult. So please pay attention, because it may be something new to many people. Now see, idam shariram kaunteya. So, O Arjuna, this body is called the kshetra. Now, in Sanskrit, it is called abhidhiyate. Abhidhiyate means it is called. Now, in Sanskrit, abhidhana means name. Okay? So, from abhidhana, name comes, it is named. Abhidhiyate. So, this body, abhidhiyate, is called kshetra. Now, why is it said like this, that this body is called kshetra? See, each word in the Gita is very, very important. It is not used just at random. So, this word idam, this body, this has been used with a very special purpose. Okay, now we will discuss what that purpose is of using the word idam. Now see, this body is called kshetra. So a name has been given to this body which has a name, which we can describe by a name. What does it mean? All the objects which are other than us, we can give a name to. Like in front of me, this is a computer. Okay. This is a pair of spectacles. This is a cover. So whatever is other than us, we can call it this. This means idam in Sanskrit. Okay. Now see, but the Atman we cannot call as this. We cannot say this Atman. The Atman can never be objectified. That is why in the verse you will see idam shariram, but it is not said idam Atman. It is said only that those who know this refer to the Atman as kshetragya. It is not said idam Atman, this Atman, because we can never say this Atman. Why? Just I will explain it. Please pay attention. See, there are three things when we speak, when we use words. There are three things. First is the shabda. Shabda is the words. Then comes vak. Vak is the organ, speech organ. And then is the vakta. Vakta is one who is speaking. Okay. I am the speaker. I am speaking through my sense organ. I am speaking some words. Now, all of us, you, I, everybody, we are speaking through our sense organs and we are speaking some words. Now, what is the common basis of all the speech, what we are speaking? The common basis of the speech and the speaker and the sense organ. In Sanskrit, there is a beautiful word, ashraya. Ashraya means it is very difficult to translate. It can be said to be the basis, the support, or the illuminator. So the basis, the support of us, our organ vak, our speech, of everything, the support or ashraya is the Atman. So when Atman is the illuminator of speech, of words, how can any word be possible to refer to the Atman? This is a very subtle concept. One simple example will make it very clear. We are seeing everything through our eyes. Okay? But how can we see the eyes? Can anybody see his eyes? No. We can only see a reflection of the eyes in the mirror. We cannot see the eyes. Because it is through the eyes which we are seeing everything. So, similarly, the Atman is that through which we know everything. So, we can never separate ourselves from the Atman, objectify the Atman, and say, this is the Atman. We can never say that. Because eyes cannot separate itself from itself and say, I am seeing my eyes. Can it do that? It cannot do that. Because it is the eye through which we see everything. Similarly, all the words which we speak, our words, organ of speech, and also the speaker, everything is known by us through the Atman only. So that is why it is said, Swami Vivekananda has said, through whom we know this universe, through what to know him, how to know the knower, by what means can we know the knower? Because in and through that we know everything. So we cannot know him by any means. Because he is the means through which we know everything. That is why in the verse it has said idam shariram, but it has not been said idam atman. It has just been said that the kshetragya or the knower of the field is referred as the Atman by those who know him. Okay. So the main thing to understand here is the self is the perceiver. As such, it is distinct from the mind which is knowable. So the cognizing self must be other than the cognizable. That is the thing. The self cognizes everything. So it must be separate from that which is cognized. This we have to understand. So that is why it has been said in the verse, idam shariram. Now, two things are there. You see, in Sanskrit, aham means I, idam means everything which is other than I. So I and this. Aham and idam. If you see, the whole universe is made up of only two entities. I, the perceiver, and what I perceive or cognize, that is idam. That is everything other than the soul is idam. This. Okay. So this, when we say idam, that is an object of perception which is separate from me. To nothing which belongs to my real self can I say idam. Whenever I use this, it will be referring to an object which is separate from me, always. I and this. Consciousness and that which it reveals. I is consciousness, and this will be that which the consciousness reveals. Okay, so the I knows this only through consciousness. This is a pair of spectacles. I know this. I know this how? Only through consciousness. That is the thing. If there is no I, there will be no this. Because who will know this? If there is no I, there will be no one to know this. So without I, there can be no this. Without aham, there cannot be idam. So all the bodies in this world of animals, of humans, of gods, all of them come under idam, that is this. Thought wave rises in the aham, I, in I. In that I, thought wave rises. These thought waves make us know idam, this. That is the thing. So without the I, there can never be any this. This means any object which can be denoted by the word this computer, this mouse, this book, etc. So another thing to note is idam, this can be both outside and inside. It can be inside also. Why? All the thought waves, I am happy, I am sad, all this sadness and happiness, all are idam. This, they are not I. Because we say, I was sad yesterday, but I am happy today. Just see this sentence. I was sad yesterday, but I am happy today. What does it mean? I and sadness and I and happiness are not the same. The same I which was sad yesterday, that same I is happy today. This means what? That sadness is different, happiness is different, and I am different. So all that is different from me comes under idam. So happiness, sadness, all the mental modifications, they are inside us, but they are idam, this. Okay? But the aham or I can never be outside. It can only be inside because it is through I that we know everything. That is the thing. So the outer objects may change, but the I, which is the knower of the field or the kshetragya, will never change. This is the concept of this is the reason why the Lord says idam shariram, this body. Okay, so now we have analyzed the word idam. Now we will analyze the next word shariram, which is in English it is called body. But as we know, when we discuss the Gita or any other thing, we cannot separate ourselves from Sanskrit because the main language is Sanskrit, the original is Sanskrit. And in Sanskrit, as I've already told you before, all the words are derived from roots. So from the root of the word, we get an idea of the meaning of the word. Sometimes from the same root, there are many meanings. So one word can mean many different things. Okay. So Shariram, the word Sharira, which we know very well, body, we will also analyze through the root it is derived from. So only two main roots are there from the word from which the word Sharira is described. Now see how beautifully it has been examined. First meaning, first root from which the word Sharira is described, there is one root Shri, but it has two meanings. We will first examine the first meaning. That is Shri Visharane. Visharane means scattered. Scattered, to scatter. So we can say the root means to scatter. What does it have to do with the body? Why is this used as the root of Sharira or the body? It has very much to do with the body. Just see the beautiful explanation. What happens when we burn the body? What happens when we bury the body? Does the body remain the same? No. When we burn it, the body is turned into ashes, bones, etc. And finally, all of these are scattered. They are no longer one whole. All the constituents of the body are scattered. When we bury the body, what happens? Ants, etc. slowly eat up, the whole body decomposes. So it is no longer the same. It is no longer one body. It is scattered. So finally, the fate of every single body in this universe is that it will disintegrate. Disintegrate means scattered. See how beautifully it is said, Shri Visharane, scattering. That is why this root is used for the body. In Christians, when they bury the body in the funeral service, what do they say? It is known as the committal prayer. You must know. It has said, the father, what does he recite? He says, for as much as it hath pleased Almighty God of his great mercy to take unto himself the soul of our dear brother here departed, we therefore commit his body to the ground. Then what is said? Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The body is scattered, earth goes to earth, dust goes to dust, it is turned into ashes if it is burnt. Then what is said? In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return to the ground, for out of it wast thou taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. So this body is nothing but dust, my friends. It has just been combined for a temporary period, and we say I. It is nothing but dust. So one day it will be scattered in this manner. That is why Shri Visharane, the term which is used to denote scattering, is also used for this body. Second root, what it is? Shri Hinsayam. Hinsa means violence, as you all know, those who know Hindi and Bengali. Hinsa means violence. So it is very strange why the root which means violence is used for the body. I may be a very, very good fellow, non-violent fellow. So why is the term violence associated with the body? See the reason. The reason, when you will see, you will just see our sages, how they have thought. I mean, it is unbelievable. The body is committing violence on the soul. How? Because it is killing the soul. How? When the body is born, we think we are being born. When the body is suffering, when the body is in pain, we think we are in pain. If the body goes somewhere, we also think we are going somewhere. And if it is sick, we think we are sick. And finally, when it dies, we also think we have died. We have died. We are dead. So what is happening? By associating with the soul, the body is as if killing the soul. Nothing can kill the Paramatman or the real soul of ours. But this individual soul, that which is identifying itself with the body, is being killed every moment by the body. How? How is it being killed? Life is nothing but death if we just analyze. But that is a separate topic. We will analyze it later. So, that is why we are actually slaves to the body till we identify ourselves with that. We are Brahman, we are the Supreme Soul, but the body has made us a few feet long, just this much. What can be bigger tragedy than that? We are indestructible, but a little cut, oh my God, run to the doctor. Little cough, oh God, take this Tylenol, take this antibiotic, all that nonsense. So this body is killing us all the time. To quote Swami Vivekananda, he says, we have identified ourselves with our bodies. We are only body. If I am pinched, I cry. All this is nonsense, since I am the soul. All this chain of misery, imagination, animals, gods and demons, everything, the whole world, all this comes from the identification of ourselves with the body. I am spirit. Why do I jump if you pinch me? Look at the slavery of it. Are we not ashamed? We are religious. We are philosophers. Lord bless us. What are we? Living hells. This is what we are. I am not saying this. Please don't be angry with me. Swami Vivekananda is saying this. Living hells. So the body has made us slaves and it is killing us every moment. That is why Shri Hinsayam. Shri, the root from which the body is derived, the meaning of that is violence or Hinsa. So this body which we are keeping with so much care, applying so many things to it every day, this is the culprit. Identification with this is the culprit. All our sufferings are caused by this identification. Now, another very interesting thing to note about the word Sharira in Urdu, those who know the language Urdu, they will tell us that Sharira in Urdu means naughty. Naughty, headstrong, what is called in Hindi Jiddi. Who is naughty? The young kid in the house is naughty. Why is Sharid called naughty? There is no connection. Yes, there is a great connection. What is the connection? The young boy or girl in the house, they are naughty. They are headstrong. They keep on doing mischief. They will never listen to us. The body is exactly the same. How is the body naughty? Oh, this dry season, I am applying moisturizer every day. But the next day, it will not listen. The next day, the body will become dry again. I am feeling hungry. I will eat now. I will tell the body, keep quiet, have this food, be satisfied. Will the body listen? No. After 4 hours or 5 hours, again, good, something will happen. Then the body will demand food again. I will clean the body today. I will tell the body, stay clean. Will the body listen? No. Again, tomorrow it will become dirty. Again, I have to clean it. So, does the body listen to us at all? Never. Just like a small boy or girl, it keeps on doing mischief. However much we try to discipline it, to keep it within our control. That is why in Urdu the word sharira means naughty. So this one word sharira, see how beautifully it has been analyzed by our saints and sages. And as we know, the body is possessed of 6 changes. In Sanskrit, it is called Jayate, Asti, Vardhate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, and Vinashyati. I will not bother you with the details. It just means that it is born, then it comes into existence, Asti, then it grows, then it changes, then slowly it decays, then finally it dies. This is the body which we are considering as ourselves. That is the thing. By its very nature, the body is an impure substance. That is why our scriptures say, don't even go near the body. Don't hear about the body. Don't discuss the body. Because by identification with the body only, you who are one with God has come to this sad state. So what is to be done then? If the body is impure, should we commit suicide? Should we end the body? No, that will not help, because we will get a body again. So the only thing is, use the body only for one thing, that is making spiritual progress, so that in the end we cease to identify ourselves with the body. After that, there will be no more bodies for us. We will be free. Because actually, as soul, we are always pure. Problem comes when? Problem comes when the soul identifies itself, begins to think of itself as this impure body. So there is no use in destroying the body. What we have to destroy is this identification with the body. That's all. This is the thing. So this is why the Sharira has been derived from the root Shri. So one meaning of Shri is scattering. We have examined that. Another is violence. And we have also seen how in Urdu, Sharir means naughty. Now, as I had told you before, there are other reasons also why this Kshetra, this body is called Kshetra. Idam Shariram Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, this body is called Kshetra. Okay, now why is this body called Kshetra? So we have analyzed Idam, why God has said Idam Shariram, this body. Sharira we have analyzed in detail. Kshetram iti abhidiyate is called kshetra or field. So one reason we have already seen, because this body is like a field where we sow our karma. But there are other reasons why the body has been called kshetra. Kshetra is a Sanskrit word. So see the derivation. Kshetra. So in Sanskrit it is derived how three reasons are given, more reasons why kshetra has been called the body. I will just quote the Sanskrit before, that way it will be easy. Kshata tranat, kshayat, ksharanat, kshetravad va asmin karma phala nivritre kshetram iti. So kshetram, this word is used for the body. Why? First reason is kshatatranat, because it protects us against injury. The body protects us from injury. How? If we purify our minds. The mind is also under the body, mind you. This body here means the whole mind-body complex, idam. So the mind also comes under body. So how does the body protect us? If we can purify our mind, if we can think about God, then this mind will protect us. How? By removing our sufferings forever and ever. So this is the first thing. Kshatatranat kshetra. It is called kshetra because it protects us. That is the first meaning. Second is kshayat. See, kshaya and kshetra are similar words. That is why in Sanskrit it is said kshayat, because the body perishes. Because the body perishes, it is called kshetra. So without knowing Sanskrit, it is difficult to appreciate this, but I am just telling still those who can understand a little. So kshaya means perishing. So because the body perishes finally, goes back to its elements, it is called kshetra. And the third meaning is kshara. Kshara, from kshara comes kshetra. What does kshara mean? It decays. It decays. Body, what happens? First it is born, then it grows into a full stature. It grows fully, then it starts decaying. So it is always changing, like the flowing river or like the flame which is always changing. The body is always changing, always decaying. And what is opposite to the body? In the Gita it is said, Aksharam Brahma Paramam. Kshara means that which decays, Akshara, that which does not decay. So the body is Kshara and Brahman is Akshara. So Kshara and Kshetra, that is another derivation. Because the body decays, it is called Kshetra. And we have already seen that it is called kshetra because it is like a field, as the results of actions get fulfilled in the body as in a field. That is the thing. So in a field we sow the seeds, nurture them, and finally we cut our plants. So in the body also we plant the seeds of virtue and vice, nurture them, and finally get their fruits when they are mature. That is the thing. So these are the four reasons why the body is called kshetra. What are the four reasons? First, it protects us if we can purify our mind. Then second reason is it finally disintegrates. Then third reason is it is subject to decay. And the fourth reason is it is like a field where we sow our karma. So, idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate. This body, O son of Kunti, is called Kshetra. So this part we have analyzed but not fully. Another word is there, Kaunteya. What does Kaunteya mean? Kaunteya means son of Kunti. Why does God use the word Kaunteya? So, as we know, the mother of Arjuna was Kunti, and she was the aunt of Krishna. So, Krishna and Arjuna were brothers. So, what does Krishna say? You are the son of Kunti, O Arjuna. You are my aunt's son, my brother. So, you are my own. I will only tell what is good for you. So, you are my relative. Blood relation is there. So, I will never tell you what is harmful for you. I will tell you only what is good. So, Arjuna is a relative of God. Therefore, he is liked by God. What does this mean? This means that we should also be relatives of God. Then only we will be liked by God. But what is the situation now? We are relatives of whom? Of what? We are relatives of the world. Our relation is only with the world. How much time do we spend in thinking about God? When we think about God, do we feel that we are as close to God as we are to our friends, brothers, wives, husbands, sisters, sons, daughters? We don't. So God says, I am always there for you. If you want to become my relative, please come, you are welcome. I will tell you what is good for you. I am always your relative. But do you have any relation to me? Are you creating any relation with me? No. But Arjun is a relative of God in the true sense. That is why Shri Krishna says Kaunteya. So, this word Kaunteya comes from Kunti. And Kunti, one derivation of Kunti is from the word Kuntala. Kuntala means hair in Sanskrit. So Kunti had very beautiful hair. That is why Kuntala to Kunti and Kunti to Kaunteya. There are other very fascinating derivations of Kunti, but I will not go into that. Already we have spent so much time. So, idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate. This one part of the words we have completed. Now let us go to the second part. Etad yo vetti. One who knows this body is called Kshetragya iti tad viduhu. This we will analyze now. One who knows this body is called Kshetragya, or the knower of the field. Kshetra is field, Kshetragya is the knower of the field. So, who call this body as the Kshetragya? It is said, Tad vidaha, those who are versed in this, those who know the field and the knower of the field, call the knower Kshetragya. So Krishna wants us to recognize not the Kshetra or the body, but the knower of the body. That is the goal. We all know this body. What we don't know, whom we don't recognize, is the knower of the body. So by describing the characteristics of the body, what does Krishna want? He wants us that we should know ourselves as separate from the body. So what is the knower of the body? Kshetragya, according to the discussion we have had, what is thus the nature of the knower of the body? First is, it is different from all that is described as this, idam. Anything which we can refer to as by this glasses, this computer, this book, the knower of the field or the individual soul is different from that. This is the first thing. The second thing, it is different from the field. The body is the field. So the Atman is different from the field. That means in the Atman, there is no farming. There are no seeds of good karma, bad karma, all these are not planted. Nothing happens. No karma in the Atman at all. All the karma is in the body. This is the second thing. And it can never be referred to as this. We can never say this Atman. The whole world is included in the term Kshetra. The whole universe. Everything has a body. Even non-living things have bodies, they have forms. So this is a dog, this is a cat, this is a mosquito. This is the name we give to external objects. This. But we can never say this is the Atman. So these three things Sri Krishna wants us to realize so that we can know the real nature of the knower of the body. So, one yah veti, yah etad veti, one who is conscious of this body, one who makes it from head to foot an object of his knowledge, makes it an object of perception as a separate entity through knowledge which is spontaneous or is acquired through instruction, is called Kshetragya, the knower of the field. This is what Sri Krishna says. Right now, we are not knowers of the field. Why? Because we don't know the body as separate from ourselves. We think we are the body. So Krishna wants us to cut asunder this identification. So each word I will again tell, just please pay attention to each word. One who makes the body from head to foot an object of his knowledge, makes it an object of perception as a separate entity through knowledge which is spontaneous or which is acquired through sadhana. He is called Kshetragya or the knower of the field. So he who knows this body, which is the object of the pronoun idam, this, is Kshetragya. Okay. So knowing the body here does not mean knowing the body as ourselves. It means knowing the body as separate from us. One who knows like that, the body in this way, that I am not this body, I am the Kshetragya. In me there is no field, there is no karma, there is no decay. I am the soul. He who knows this body in that way is called the Kshetragya. So this completes our very, very concise analysis of the first verse. It is very concise, mind you. We can go on for another few hours. There will be no problem. I have left out many things. So this is enough for today, I think. So idam shariram kaunteya, O Kunti, O son of Arjuna, this body, idam shariram, abhidhiyate, is named. this as Kshetra. This body is known as Kshetra. Why? We have already given so many reasons why Sri Krishna calls the body Kshetra. Etad yo veti, one who knows this Kshetra. How? As separate from himself. Etad yo veti tam prahu kshetragya. He is called the knower of the field or the kshetragya. Why? By whom? By those tadvidaha, those who are experts. Those who are experts in this knowledge of the field and the knower of the field, they refer to the knower as the kshetragya. But it is not said, this is a kshetragya. No. This is a body can be said, because the body is objectified. But the kshetragya is our real self, the knower, through whom we know everything. So how can we objectify the knower? We can never do that. So this is a simple, as simple as it could be done, and very brief analysis of the first verse of the 13th chapter. Now, after that, next time we will take the second verse, that now is the job complete. Now we know the Kshetra, we know the Kshetragya. Is everything finished? No, it is not finished. The next verse, God will say, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi. Know the real nature of Kshetragya. The real nature of Kshetragya, God says, is not different from me. That is the Supreme Soul. And you are also not different from that. So our job is not complete. The discrimination is not complete. It will be in the next verse. So be ready for another headache next time. Now just to relieve the headache, we can have a little song. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. So this is a song on Shri Ram Krishna by the great devotee Girish Chandra Ghosh. I am sure all of you know this already. So here he describes the divine advent of Shri Ramakrishna. Dukhini Brahmoni Kole Ke Shuecho Alo Kore. Who are you, O divine person? Dukhini Brahmoni means refers to the mother of Shri Ramakrishna, that you are illuminating the lap of your mother. Ke ore digambaro eshecho kutiro ghore. Who are you, O sweet child, who have come into this house of this poor Brahmin lady? Bhutole Otulo Moni ke elire Jadu Moni. Jadu Moni in Bengali is a term of endearment. Oh, very dear Shri Ramakrishna, you are like a jewel. Tapita here oboni eshecho ki sokatore. Tapita here oboni means seeing the whole world suffering, full of misery. Have you come to shower your grace out of your pity? Bathite ki dite dekha. Bathito mane who is suffering. Is it to show yourself to him? Gopone esecho eka. Have you come in secret? Bodone koruna makha haso kando karotore. So the body is made of compassion, and you are laughing and joking just like ordinary people. Mori mori rupo heri noyono phirate nari hridayo santapo hari shado dhori ridhi pore. So mori mori rupo heri means I am simply dazzled by your beautiful form. I cannot look away. I am just bewitched seeing you. Hridayo santapo hari, one who takes away the suffering of our heart. Shado dhori ridhi pori. So let me hold you to my heart. Let me hold you to my bosom. This is the meaning. Dukhini Brahmoni Kole কেশুয়ে চোয়ালো করে দুঃখিনী ব্রাহ্মণী কোলে কেশুয়ে চোয়ালো করে কেরে ওরে দিগম্বর এসেছো কুটির ঘরে কেরে ওরে দিগম্বর এসেছো কুটির ঘরে দুঃখিনী ব্রাহ্মণী কোলে কেশুয়ে চোয়ালো করে ভূতলে অতুল মনি কেলি রে জাদু মনি ভূতলে অতুল মনি কেলি রে জাদু মনি তাপিতা হেরে অবনি এসেছো কি সকাতরে দুঃখিনী ব্রাহ্মণী কোলে কেশুয়ে চোয়ালো করে ব্যথিতে কি দিতে দেখা গোপনে এসেছো একা বদনে করুণা মাখা হাসো কান্দো কারো তরে ব্যথিতে কি দিতে দেখা গোপনে এসেছো একা বদনে করুণা মাখা হাসো কান্দো কারো তরে মরি মরি রূপ হেরি নয়ন ফিরাতে নারী মরি মরি রূপ হেরি নয়ন ফিরাতে নারী হৃদয় সন্তাপহারি সাধো ধরি হৃদি পরে দুঃখিনী ব্রাহ্মণী কোলে কেশুয়ে চোয়ালো করে কেরে ওরে দিগম্বর এসেছো কুটির ঘরে কেরে ওরে দিগম্বর এসেছো কুটির ঘরে দুঃখিনী ব্রাহ্মণী কোলে কেশুয়ে চোয়ালো করে দুঃখিনী ব্রাহ্মণী কোলে। So this was the first verse of the 13th chapter. I hope you have enjoyed as much as I enjoyed presenting it to you. So, as usual,
Maharaj,
yeah,
I just want to know why God took all this trouble to create this Leela.
that only God can tell. The thing is, God has left it to us. If we don't want to experience this Leela, if we want to go back to our real nature, we are free to do so. God has not prevented us. So, one explanation which we may try to put is that we are experiencing this Leela because we want to. When we don't want it really, when we really yearn for God, God is ever ready to take us to our lap.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Next is Aishwari.
Namaskaram, Swamiji.
Namaskar.
Thank you so much for this great analysis. It is lovely to be reminded about how the body is called field.
Yeah.
That part was amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And
Yeah.
it's and how to realize that these bodies are something that is acquired along the way, including the subtle body.
Yeah.
And whatever that we have acquired can be ours, but can never be us.
Absolutely. Mhm.
And that was very lovely part of this analysis.
Yeah.
The part that I'm still, trying to wrap my head around is your description of Kshetra
Yeah.
as body,
Yeah.
and how you mentioned that one of the characteristics of this body is that it can protect us when the mind is purified. Did I
Yeah.
get you right?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Something to think about. Thank you so much, Swamiji.
Yeah. For example, when I'm sick due to the sickness of my body, but the body is sick, but I am suffering. Now, if the mind is pure enough, then I will be like Sri Ramakrishna or Swami Vivekananda or anybody else, such great souls. They, whenever they liked, they could disidentify themselves with the body because their minds were pure.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, once when Swami Vivekananda was roaming, he was wandering in India before going to USA. Once he was in a jungle. So for many days he was begging, he could not get any food and all. So he was sitting under a tree. And in the jungle he saw a tiger before him. So what would we have done? We who think ourselves as the body, we would have run or done something at least. So Swami Vivekananda said, okay, this tiger has come. Okay, let it satisfy its hunger. As it is, I could achieve nothing in my life. So he just sat there and waited for the tiger to come and eat him.
Oh my goodness.
Can we imagine that state? That is the way in which their minds, which were completely given to God, it protected them from all kinds of suffering.
The same with Ramana Maharishi too.
Yeah, all the great souls.
Totally. Yeah, they don't seem to be affected in any way by bodily illness and so on, including, of course, Paramahamsa Sri Ramakrishna too. Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Jyoti.
Hello, Swamiji.
Hello.
Thank you so much for
Thank-
the class. It was wonderful, and I have so many questions, but I'm prioritizing just top two to ask you. So, one, you said the meaning of Shri, one of the meanings is violence. What was the first meaning?
Shri Hinsayam for violence and Shri Visharane, being scattering.
Scattering. And I've also heard Shri also refers to Lakshmi.
No, that is a different Shri. That is Shri with that E matra. And
Okay.
this is Shri with the Re at the bottom.
Okay, that's the difference. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that Shri Lakshmi is not a root, it is a word. But
Okay.
this Shri with the Re like this is a root word.
Got it. And one question, Swamiji, this is on the same theme as I think Dipali ma'am asked. So this question has two parts or three parts. Does Vedanta have any explanation on the question, what is the reason for existence of the bodies? One. And then two, another question is, I really admire the wisdom that, Vivekananda, Buddha, or Sri Ramakrishna, spread to the world. But I have this question that has always remained unanswered, and I'll ask it here. Perhaps another session, maybe you can address it. Children, they usually don't have the same level of emotional clarity as adults do. I don't know if they even have the same level of awareness that adults do. But there are times when bad things happen to the children. Adults do bad things. Now, how would like Vedanta knowledge or Vivekananda offer comfort to the child or offer comfort to an adult to be able to guide the child? Like what type of Vedanta knowledge would help with this? If you can share a story another time in the future or even now, that would be amazing.
Well, the first question which you asked, what is the reason for the existence of the body? Now you see here the body is not limited to the gross body, as I've already told. So when we say the body, here it means whatever is other than the soul, that is the whole universe. So the only reason for its existence, first of all, the existence of this universe is always subjective. I am experiencing it one way, but you may not experience it in the same way. So that will depend upon the constitution of our mind. Sri Ramakrishna, when he saw the world, he saw that only God existed. But we see matter everywhere. We see dull and dead matter. So why it exists as we see it, it depends on the existence of the condition of our mind. That is one thing. And if you want to state that why it exists at all, why is there a reality called the world, then the only answer is because of ignorance. Since we are ignorant, we are seeing the world. Once we gain the knowledge of the reality, we will just see the ultimate reality, which can be called God or Brahman, or you can give it any name. This is one thing. And secondly, you see, the second question I am not sure whether I can answer, because now child psychology is a very big field, as you know. People do research on that, and so Vedanta can it really help children is very difficult to say. I mean, it all depends upon the individual child, his level of maturity. And you see, the mundane events of life can only be applied to Vedanta or any other developed religious philosophy when one level reaches a certain level. So, as you said, a certain level of maturity. Now, children, those who have not reached that level, is it possible at all to explain or give them solace through Vedanta or not? I don't know. Maybe some rare child who has the capacity, he may be able to understand. But others, it is actually I am at a loss, because child psychology is a very big field. I am not well conversant with it. So we will just have to, if the child is not sufficiently mature, the parents or the relatives have to teach him according to his mental capacity. And many things have to be taken into account. The circumstances, how he has been brought up. This question is so large that I don't think it is possible for me to answer in an offhand way. And that too, without the knowledge of child psychology, it is practically impossible.
Okay, thank you so much, Swamiji. But if you ever come across any story, I would love to hear, like from Bhagavad Gita, if there is something.
Yeah, Bhagavad Gita will not deal with this. You see, Bhagavad Gita is a Mukti Shastra. It's for liberation only. So for children, that's a completely different field, and I really don't know because I've never had a chance to. I've never dealt with the children in that way.
Thank you so much, Swamiji.
Okay, Nirmalda, are you there? Yeah, we can.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj. Excellent. This Kshetra and Kshetra, this is an excellent conception. As you said, you can read Gita's verses, but you can never understand or get this concept unless hear from someone like you. Thank you.
I'm just.
One quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have one quick question. in the Adi Shankaracharya, he said, Jagat, Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya.
Yeah,
But Vivekananda at some point said, Brahma Satya, Jagat Satya.
that was Swami Turiyananda.
So,
Swami-
so why, what's the, I mean, I have an understanding why, but why does that make kind of
It is very simple.
departure from Shankaracharya?
There is no contradiction. It is very simple. When there is a rope lying on the street and we see it as a snake, then when we see the rope as a snake, it is mithya, it is unreal, because there is no snake there. But when we see the rope as a rope, when we see the world as what it is, when it is God Himself, then the world is also true. So they are simply speaking from two different standpoints. In the beginning, the world is false, because till we see matter, till we see it as idam, as this, then it is mithya. But when it is non-different from the Atman, when we have the vision of great souls like Swami Vivekananda and all, then both are true.
Thank you, Maharaj. One quick question. You said that the karma does not affect Atman.
Yeah,
Good karma or bad karma do not
there
affect
is
Atman.
no karma in the Atman.
That's right. So what's the role of karma? How does karma eventually helps us elevate ourselves to the higher status?
Because the problem is not with the Atman, the problem is with our mind. Atman is always there. The sun is always shining. The clouds have come before the sun. When we do good karma, we don't manufacture the Atman or God. God is always there. So we don't manufacture the sun. When we want to see the sun, we remove the cloud. This removing the cloud means karma. So,
Excellent
Yeah.
excellent example, Maharaj. Excellent example. Thank you.
thank you so much. Yeah, now we can hear.
Pranam Maharaj, in your talk and song, both were lovely. I have just one question, which is sort of similar to, was it Nirmal Bhattacharya? Yeah, I think his question was similar. So our Kshetra is the body and Kshetragya is the Atman, and all the karma that we perform, that does not affect Kshetragya, but it affects the Kshetra.
Yeah.
So when this body dies, a person dies, all the karma goes with the person to the next life.
Yeah.
Now, is it the Manomaya kosha that carries the karma, or what? Which part of
The subtle body that is composed of many things, we can take up that later. We leave the gross body behind, but the subtle body is also kshetra. All the bodies are kshetra. So the subtle body, which is made up of the organs and the antakarana and all that, it leaves along with all the karmas and enters a new gross body to reap the fruits.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, thank you.
Pranam.
Maharaj,
Anadi Babu,
fantastic talk.
thank you so much. Nothing is mine.
Sweet sound, very
All-
sweet sound.
Thank you so much.
Hello,
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah.
Dr. Maharaj, excellent talk. So well explained this Kshetra, the whole concept. You've explained it so beautifully. We've heard it, many times, so many years, but the clarity of conception of these individual words, because if they don't link up properly, after a while you start forgetting. So well explained. Very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaskar.
So, okay then, see you next time. And next time we will deal with the second verse of the 13th chapter. And another thing I wanted to request you, everybody is having a Christmas holiday. So, after the Sunday after Christmas, I think it is the 27th, please give me one holiday.